So if I literally track where your energy flows in all the coaching that you're doing, your energy audit would confirm that you are on purpose, that your stated purpose for coaching represents exactly what you have been most invested in with the most precious resource you have as a human being, and that is your energy. That's what coaching on purpose is. And I'll have to tell you, this is not a very comfortable audit for most of us, because you begin to see things that are a little disturbing. So here's the question. Does tennis build character? What do you think? What's your instinct on that? Does tennis,
Yes.
competitive tennis, build character? Yes?
Yes.
It can.
Can?
It can.
In and of itself, it probably.
In and of itself, it probably, in and of itself, it may or may not. Yes?
It reveals character.
Okay, so it's a very good point. It definitely exposes character, or the lack of it. But does it build character, or does it build the absence of character? That's a big question, and I really want you to think about how that might be, kind of whittled down and get a little more of a handle around it. Does tennis, competitive tennis, at the highest level, does it build personal strength? Does competitive tennis breed personal strength? I want you to hold on to that and just kind of go with me a little bit here. Here's what the research shows. The majority of research reports a negative relationship exists between participation in sports and character development. And that is with a very large number of research projects. That's the conclusion people draw. How do you feel about that?
It depends on what. In my opinion, it depends if it's woman tennis or man tennis.
Now, they didn't make that differentiation. Team sports, and it gets increasingly worse the higher the competitive level. The more intense the competition, the more the relationship is negative. Non-athletes consistently score higher on character traits than athletes do. How does that make you feel? Particularly if you are coaching for character. It ain't working. Let's try to understand why. The longer athletes participated in higher competitive levels, the more likely they were to legitimatize rule violations. Yeah, that's a true statement. So we can talk about building character all the time, but coaches say they're teaching character, however, what they are doing is not working. Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think that's the case? What made John Wooden, it's a team sport, it's the highest level of competitive success possible in collegiate sports? His players consistently report becoming better human beings as a consequence of their experience with him. And not only that, they won way more than their fair share. His record in winning was unparalleled. And he was in a team sport that most of the research shows makes it even harder to build character. So what did he do that's so different? There are lots of hazards in sport, lots of them. I'm going to read you just 6 quotes that I took from Andre Agassi's book. How many here have read his book? It's really a very good read. Gives you a lot of insight. This is now a required reading for all of the parents I work with in our academy. They have to read it, and I give them a test. Here's one of the statements. I've internalized my father, his impatience, his perfectionism, his rage, until his voice doesn't just feel like my own, it is my own. I now no longer need my father to torture me. From this day forward, I can do it all by myself. How about that? Thank you, tennis. That's through tennis. Another one, quote, I feel in fact as if I had been let in on a dirty little secret. And that secret is winning changes nothing. And what Andre was referring to here is that he believed that everyone was saying, win, win, win. That's going to make your life worth living. It's going to bring all the great stuff to you. It's going to make you feel whole. It's going to make you feel like a person of value. And what he awakened to the reality was he could win one of the biggest prizes on planet Earth in tennis, and it changed nothing. Winning did not help him complete the sense of value in himself. You do not build value by winning external trophies. Then he says this, I marvel at how unexciting it is to be famous. How mundane famous people are. They're confused often, uncertain, insecure, and often hate what they do. Speaking of himself. Then he has this statement, quote, what the hell is wrong with me? I did it. I'm number one on planet Earth in tennis, and I yet feel completely empty. How much of a tragedy is that? The promise and the number of people I have had in my office who have achieved dreams of glory, have achieved things that, since they've been 5 years of age, that has been their obsession. They finally accomplish it, and they have nothing. They go into a dark, deep trough of emptiness, because it literally gave them nothing. And then he has this. Now we get a little insight here. He said, I've had the wrong goals. I've never really wanted to be number one. That was just something others wanted for me. He really never had a voice. He really never had an opportunity to explore what he really wanted to do, so that his playing was on purpose. Just like your coaching needs to be on purpose. And the most important statement that I think he made in the entire book was this. The only perfection there is the perfection of helping others. This is the only thing we can do that has any lasting value or meaning. And this is why we're here. To make each other feel safe. That is what we're coaching. We're trying to coach character using tennis as this extraordinary field of forces to grow something. What are the muscles we're trying to grow? How do you do it through tennis? Well, these muscles are respect for others. These muscles are integrity. These muscles are courage. These muscles are responsibility, compassion, fairness, civility. So how do we figure out, how do we make investments of our energy? How do we get as excited about those things as we do about external wins? How did John Wooden do it? How did he possibly sit down and every practice he worked on all the fundamentals of basketball, and yet he was able to do it in a way when the young men on that court walked off the court, they were better human beings as a consequence. The Army, all 4 services are working on what is referred to as resiliency. Repeated deployments into Afghanistan and Iraq have produced a lot of serious consequences. Post-traumatic stress disorder is showing up. Suicides are at an all-time high. And, there's a deep concern for how do you build resiliency in an individual so that they can actually go into that front line, come back, go home, be deployed for a time, and then back in again. And there's a lot of concern about that. There's a lot of research coming out, and it has a lot to say about tennis, I will tell you. There's so much information. I served on some of those commissions, and it's very intriguing stuff. I've learned a great deal, and a lot of the work we've done in the sports science areas actually applies to military training. But the thing that the military has learned, there is no question. You take any military leader who's ever really been responsible for developing a fighting force, a command unit, and he or she will tell you that those character traits of loyalty, of integrity, honesty, are so much a core to developing a great fighter that you cannot have a great, resilient warrior without having a strong character that is embedded inside. And they believe that they will take the toughest kids that have had maybe a brutal upbringing from some drug-infested area of an inner city somewhere, and within a relatively short period of time, relatively short, considering how long the person's been on planet Earth, and begin to build character traits that will stand firm for the rest of their life. And they invest in it. So that the military, when life and death is at stake, I believe this for sure.